Topic 1. CPI at 4.2% year over year, and ECB widely expected to raise rates as energy costs push prices higher. US headline CPI rose 4.2% year over year in May, monthly plus 0.5%. Core CPI in volatile items is 2.9% Y, plus 0.2% month. Energy-led inflation with monthly plus 3.9% and an annualized jump of about 23.5%. Gasoline rose roughly 7% monthly and near plus 40% on an annualized basis. Eurozone headline inflation climbed to 3.2% in April, driven by energy, plus 10.9% YY, and rising core inflation at 2.5%, with services inflation increasingly important. The ECB is widely expected to deliver a 25 basis point hike in June, taking the deposit rate toward 2.25%, as energy shocks and rising core inflation tighten the inflation outlook. Markets price further hikes through year-end, though growth slowdown and recession risks complicate the outlook. Implication: a global energy-driven headline inflation shock raises the likelihood of a more restrictive stance from key central banks, ECB more immediately, Fed possibly later, tightening financial conditions and affecting rates, bonds, and commodity markets. Persistent spillover into services would reduce central banks' room to ease. Topic 2. US strikes on Iran and follow-on targeting in the region, alongside presidential rhetoric, are adding risk. Incident background: a US Apache helicopter crashed near the Strait of Hormuz during patrols. US suspected Iranian attack. Both crew survived and were rescued, possibly with autonomous maritime drone assistance. US retaliation: CENTCOM said it struck Iranian air defenses, command nodes, and surveillance radars in a defensive, proportionate operation that it declared complete. Iran warned of responses, and multiple regional states reported missile drone threats and active air defenses. Regional escalation: Bahrain, Jordan, and Kuwait reported interceptions and air defense activations. Oil markets spiked then retraced. US July futures near $88 and Brent near $91, while Rystad estimates Gulf production disruptions totaling about 11.8 million barrels per day at peak and cumulative losses near 1 billion barrels, warning of further monthly losses if conflict persists. Political risk: President Trump's public threats to strike infrastructure, power plants, bridges, raise the prospect of further escalation. Combined US strikes, Iranian or proxy reprisals, and hawkish rhetoric materially increase both physical and psychological risks to strategic shipping lanes and energy supply. Topic 3. A major tech moment as AI firms like OpenAI head toward an IPO that will test investor appetite and the sector's valuation. Several high-profile AI companies, OpenAI, Anthropic, SpaceX XAI, are preparing IPOs that will subject sky-high private valuations to public scrutiny and quarterly earnings discipline, raising the bar for sustained revenue generation and profitability. Reported private valuations are huge. OpenAI and Anthropic have been cited in the hundreds of billions, roughly $852 billion and $965 billion reported. And SpaceX plans a roughly 1.7 to 1.8 trillion valuation, creating intense focus on monetization paths, model commercialization, and the scale of CapEx, data centers, chips. Public markets will question revenue conversion, margin prospects, and heavy infrastructure spending. The IPOs could reallocate investment flows into new issues and away from existing tech names, amplifying market volatility and valuation repricing across the sector. Beyond finance, IPOs raise policy and political issues, for example, proposals around public asset sharing, meaning the listings will test investor appetite, regulatory scrutiny, and broader debates about wealth distribution and AI governance. Topic 4. CrowdStrike warns of Chinese AI-driven attacks. Palantir raises enterprise unease with Frontier AI Labs, and investors' officials are weighing AI plays over other tech bets. CrowdStrike reports that over the past 12 months, more than 58% of nation-state-linked targeted cyber attacks against tech firms were tied to China, focusing on AI